Be in the shots.
Yeah, I think he's in like everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Music Makes Sense, the podcast that talks about why music is easy and why life is hard. Today, our guest is a local musician, promoter, and just everyman. Everyone, please welcome Mr. Adam Macleod.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate
How's it going, man?
It's going good, man. It's going really good.
Nice.
Busy summer.
Yeah. Want to talk about it?
Sure, yeah. Just, as you know, I'm in many projects. And Volt, my metal band, just got back from the Armstrong Metal Fest in Armstrong, BC.
Nice.
Yes, it was pretty fun. We've played some of the Alberta ones, like we played the Deciment Festival. We played Loud as Hell and Drumheller. Armstrong's been on my bucket list for like the last 10 or 15 years. I believe it was their 16th year that they did it this year. And I've just been itching forever to get down there to play. Not only just like, because these festivals, those outdoor open air festivals are really, really fun. But this one in particular really hones on the metal culture. And it's really inclusive and open, and I was just really surprised on like the turnout, the support from like the actual community. Mm-hmm. He had a documentary that sort of walked through like the last 15 years and how the festival built, and just the complexities that come along with those types of events, and especially with heavy metal. Just sort of the things the connotations that come with heavy metal. Mm-hmm. It really is unique to see the support, especially from his local, like from his community, that they have at that festival. And yeah, it was a blast. We had a great time. That's
dope, dude. I do notice it's been about 5 years since everything kind of shut down and we had to almost have a reset of the mm-hmm. music industry, and like it's good seeing that like we're rebounding back hard.
Absolutely.
Like yeah. Edmonton has a thriving alternative like metal 100%. Scene right now.
Yeah.
Man, I remember the first time I seen you guys in Volt. That was in like 2019. Were you playing then?
That's hard to say. My memory of Volt it's such a whirlwind. I always still think of myself as the new guy. But yes, I've been in the band now 5 or 6 years. It was during COVID when I joined. I love those guys, all of them. I mean, Glenn and I are in a bunch of other bands together. I've known Shay since I was a kid. Jimmy and I are really close and go on snowboard trips together and stuff. They asked me 3 times, and I finally caved the 3rd time that they asked me. So when they first got together, Jimmy and Shay have been playing together forever. But Shay was the original singer. So mm-hmm. on their first record, Thrashopolis, I can't remember the name of it. That's terrible of me. I can't remember one of my band's records names. Shay did the vocals, but he really just wanted to focus on being a guitar player. Mm-hmm. So they had a few other folks. Ryan LaPrairie was in for a bit, and then they asked me because of how close I was with Glenn, and they were like, "We really, really want you." I was nervous. I'm not gonna lie. I sort of was out of the metal scene for mm-hmm. a few years. I knew I could do it, but I didn't want to just join that band and replicate what I did with some of my previous metal bands. So it actually did take me a while to sort of like, yeah, I went and jammed and I tried some things out, but it took me a bit to find the sound that I wanted to go for. So it wasn't just, carbon copy of what I did with Until Dawn. Mm-hmm. So it's very, very different. I'm trying my best to have a more 2025 approach or even a 2020 approach to my vocals with that band.
What does that mean? Like what's the 2020 version approach?
It's hard to say. So before, when I was doing metal with Until Dawn, I hate labels, but they were more of a metalcore band. So it was almost, I sort of had a different approach. It was chopped half and half, like very heavy and very melodic. So I tried to incorporate both of that into my vocal styles. Not to say that Volt's not melodic, but it's more thrash. Mm-hmm. It's very, very old school 80s thrash metal. inspired. So I didn't just want to, I don't have a lot of clean melodic vocals in this project. And it took me a while to actually be like, okay, if I'm not going to use a lot of melody, what are the tools in my arsenal to have that I can really rely on without overdoing it and blowing my voice that makes this more unique? So I rely on some of my other tools, like some of my thrash metal, some of my death metal style vocals. So I'm a big Black Dahlia Murderer fan, and what Trevor used to do, what I loved about Trevor was he could take his vocals from very extreme lows all the way up to these big highs. So I try to incorporate a little bit of that because Shay's riffs sort of model that, right? He goes from these really guttural, low speed picking, rhythm riffs up to these huge melodic guitar solos. So I thought, hey, what better way to accompany that by then having the vocals sort of mimic it in a sense. So, so yeah, that's sort of the approach I've had with vocals with Volt.
Do you consider yourself more of a vocalist or a guitar player?
Oh, that's a crazy question. I consider myself a songwriter, first and foremost. So that's one of the beauty things about, especially in our community where we have such an eclectic group of musicians here in Fort McMurray. I get to scratch a lot of itches, whether I'm either playing, acoustic by myself, or if I'm, playing mandolin in the Radium Scouts, or, doing punk rock stuff with Big Dirty and Fresh Cut. Like I get a bit of an easier way to scratch that itch, but at the end of the day, I don't sit down and be like, okay, I'm going to write a Volt song or I'm going to write a Radium Scout song. I just write a song. And then when the song comes out or wherever, I'm like, this one would sound better in this project, or this is something that this style would fit more over here. So I don't ever really just intentionally sit down to try to work on something specific. It's just a work on something, and then here's the lane it fits in, and if it doesn't fit in any of those lanes, let's make a lane for it to fit in. So
could you say, almost like in a real cheesy way, like the art, like the creativity comes to you and you're just kind of allowing yourself it to happen? In
that sense, yeah. I do, when I think about myself as a songwriter, I do thrive on creativity. As much as I love our music scene in town, there is a part of that I feel is a bit more unique than some other things that are going on in our city. So I really try to just creativity is first and foremost for me.
Do you want to elaborate a little bit more on what that?
Well, it's just our scene it's very eclectic and it's very diverse, but there is a lot of the same stuff sort of happening. And I find that even back in the day when we were kids, like we would have our bands and they were all sort of like, okay, well, we got our top band and then we got the next little mini version of that band and then another version. And I'm guilty of that too. I was in those types of bands. Nowadays, I find it's more diverse with the fact of that everybody's more creative. Like, I mean, even yourself and some of your projects, like you got people out there like Brendan Bryson, who's on a whole other level and he's doing something totally different than any other band in town. And then you look at someone like our band Volt, right? Like there are a couple of thrash metal bands in Fort McMurray, but they don't sound the same. They don't sound like that. And that's what makes it unique when we're going to shows here in Fort Mac, is you can have two thrash metal bands that sort of take influence from total different opposite sides of the spectrum, and you're not really just seeing the same thing over and over and over again. So yeah, that's what I really like about the diversity in our community right now.
Dude. I want to talk about Fresh Cut Lime a little bit and the recent Joey D tribute. Yeah.
So for those who don't know, Fresh Cut is our band for our fallen friend Joey D. Originally, it started way back in the early 2000s, and it was a project that Joe had. It was literally like he started a band so he could have a band just in case he needed a band to play a show. So Joey was in a few bands. Joey's in a lot of bands, but mainly at around that time he was the lead guitar player for Abandon All Hope. He started a Fresh Cut, not because like they wouldn't let him write songs or anything like that, but just so it was like, oh, I got a band coming to McMurray, but schedules don't line up or something like that. He would have a project that he could be like, okay, well, Fresh Cut will play. And there's been many, many, many iterations of that band. I mean, I'm surprised you weren't in that band at some point. But what happened was I was living with Joey. Oh, geez, when was I living with Joe? I was living with Joe probably like 2009, and I was in Until Dawn. He was in a band in All Hope, and we would just play. We would swap riffs, and we would teach each other our songs. And at some point, Joe was like, "Hey, I got this show coming up. I need someone to play bass. Join the band." I was like, "Yeah, no problem." So that sort of led into a few different things and different iterations. But then when Joe passed, we always were looking to something to honor him, right? So, they always say, I've said this a million times, but you're not truly gone until someone says your name, to the last time someone says your name. So we just try to make sure that we don't ever, it's not the last time we say Joey's name. So, and those songs, as simplistic as they are, as sort of juvenile as they are, they're so fun to play. And I like women with dirt on their chin, who are missing their two front teeth. Baby, if I had one wish, pop on a bus to lack the fish, have some kids and eat Flintstones for lunch. Yeah, we need Flintstones for lunch. Yeah, we need Flintstones for lunch. Yeah, we need Flintstones for lunch. In the front, party in the back, staying in the camp, up and forth, I like it. I like it. I like it. Business in the front. And I really love doing it annually because it's just almost like it's a celebration of Joe, but it also brings a bunch of people from around the province who've sort of spread out over the years together just to remember our friend and sing some songs for him. So those nights are always a blast every year when we do it. Yeah.
The week after I helped you guys out with that, I was up in Fort Chip with doing a Brandon thing. And the whole weekend, Brandon can attest for this, the whole weekend I was humming the tunes, saying the tunes, and he was getting so annoyed of like, wow, those are really catchy tunes. I'm like, yeah, dude.
I owe Joe a lot, aside from just the friendship and the mentorship that he's given me about like how to be in a band. Like him and Tyler and Steve Crow and Darren, the guys from Abandon, like if it wasn't for just hanging out with those guys for years and years and years, like I probably wouldn't be as half decent of a songwriter as I am. Joey taught me a lot, Tyler taught me a lot, and Steve still continues to teach me a lot. So it's a blessing to get to play with them. Actually, the video that you did, that you posted, and I had to call Crow afterwards, and I was just like, man, I love watching you play drums. And his response was, well, you should turn around more often. So anyway, no, it was really fun. Those gigs, like I said, every year. We've been doing it at Rock the Rails for the last little bit because that's a time of the year that a lot of people come up, right? But Joey's birthday is actually in December. So previously we've been doing them in December. And they're always fun, but it's just a little bit more challenging logistically to get everybody around. It's like, oh, when's everybody coming up for Christmas? And we sort of want to do it around his birthday. And then like there's a lot of stuff going on at that time. So I'm glad that Mike and Darren and the people at Rock the Rails have sort of allowed us to incorporate that night at that event.
I mean, it was one of the highlights of my year. I know that.
Yeah, it's fun. It's bittersweet for me. I don't listen to Joe's music all the time, as you can imagine. It just brings back some stuff. But when I do get to play it with the boys, the stuff that it does bring back is just always just, the brotherhood, the camaraderie, the funny jokes, and we don't. The first few years, yeah, it was hard, but we don't really dwell on it anymore. We sort of just embrace it, and it's always a good time. We never practice, so just FYI, we need more fresh cut practices, guys. But yeah, it's always fun. So yeah, and that's like I said too. Like even when the band was around, like there was a time when Steve Payne was playing drums, and Riley was playing bass, and I was playing guitar, and Darren's playing. Like it's always been a rolling roster of members. That sort of has continued even after Joe's passing. So like this year we had the luxury of incorporating and bringing on Andrew Kosh, and Andrew's another guy like myself who worked a lot with Joe on his songwriting. Back in those days Andrew was in a few bands, and it was really nice just to be able to be like, hey man, like can you learn these songs in a week? And he's like, yep, no problem. And like just me looking over my shoulder and him just having a fun time, like that made me really happy, just to be able to share that with some other folks that were in the circle at that time, right? So
it for me, it's everything that I love about music, and it's the live interaction, it's the energy exchange, it's being there for a bigger reason than, you know, the ego of playing music.
Yeah.
Dude, it's life changing. It really is. Like it's why I did this stuff.
His sister comes up and she supports us quite a bit, and I mean, yeah, it's always fun, like, because we all grew up together, and you know, his sister's still a big part of all of our lives. But I think it's a coping mechanism for all of us. But really, it's nice, you know, for us to sort of keep her and his family still in mind of, you know, Joe's still with us, right? Joe's not gone, and even though we still get to play his songs, and we still get to, you know, Crow's done some stuff with some of his older recordings and cleaned them up, but we still get to have that brotherhood and that camaraderie and still share that with that group of people. And it's sort of funny, it's still even expanding, right? Where, you know, there's people that have sort of come into our scene over the last few years, and they ask the questions, and we have conversations like this, and they're just like, man, like, it's really nice of you guys to keep this alive for your friend. I could only hope that I have something similar when I pass, but it's just the camaraderie, right? It was just it doesn't feel like he's gone when we keep these things going. And then at the same time, not to blow Joey's ego if he was still around, but he would be laughing his ass off knowing that we're doing this every year. He would just be pickled, like he'd be happy for us. So.
It's the thing that comes to my mind is like cracking an egg, and like one egg cracks very easily, but at 12 eggs don't crack at all. And like what you were saying, if you don't really listen to the music by yourself, it just makes me think that like it's so much easier to share the pain when you're with everyone else, and you can turn the pain into something else.
I'm sure if you look back at some of the footage that you grabbed of that night, you will see that exact sentiment throughout the entire night between all of us. Like, there was a point where Kevin Collins, Fats, sang one of the last songs Joey wrote was Wow, I Suck. And I had a hard time with it. I had a hard time. Not only, like, I love the song, and I love watching my friends sing it, but it's just one of the ones that I've personally chose to not avoid, but just knowing the connotation and knowing when he wrote it, I was just like, that's a tough one, right? And it's the same one. Joe was a bit morbid in his songwriting, and one of the songs we have is called Being Dead. And throughout over the years, I had a hard time with that one, obviously, but there's some really, really gripping lines that now when I reflect on them, even knowing that I don't think he had this intention when he wrote it, it means more to me now after everything that the band has went through and that our friends and our circle of people have went through. It means more to me now than it did when Joe initially passed. So I'm just really happy that every year we get to, you know, it doesn't die. Like it actually gets bigger every year. So I'm just really happy we get to do it.
All right, I think that's enough on the death now. We could stay on that forever. I love morbid talk, but like, Adam, I've known you professionally for like a couple years now, but I don't really know you personally. So like, what's Adam's story?
I'm a dad. I'm a husband. I'm a musician. I coach baseball.
Let's bring it back to formative years.
Oh, okay. So I grew up in Fort McMurray. Much like most families.
Were you born here?
No, I was born in Cape Breton, but my parents moved up here during the boom in the early 90s. So, and it's super funny because a lot of the people that I'm really close with and in bands with and stuff are still some of the same people I met when I first moved here. So, and they're either from here or we're all East Coasters and Cape Bretoners. So, you know, I moved here from Cape Breton in the summer. I moved here in June, and I did play music back home. I think I was about 10 years old, but I didn't have any friends. I didn't know anybody. I had a cousin, and then so I had like the summer sort of to myself. My parents sent me up here before they came up here, so I was sort of in McMurray by myself with my aunt and uncle, and I had a guitar in the closet. And I said to myself, I go, okay, well, who am I going to be when I go to school? Am I going to be a soccer player? Am I going to be a hockey player? Am I going to be a drummer? And I had the guitar, and I was really big into music at the time. It was 94, so as you can imagine, all of the stuff that was going on at that time, you know, Green Day, Nirvana, Offspring, right? Bad Religion. I was just starting to get into punk rock and had a guitar, and I just said to myself, I'm like, when I go to school and I start meeting people, I'm going to be a punk rock guitar player. I'm going to learn guitar over the summer, and I'm going to find my group, and that's what I'm going to do. And to be honest, that's what I did. I found Blair Didcote and Mike Alfred, and very, very soon after, we started our first band. So yeah, and really never stopped since then. And like I said, still friends with those guys today. Still, you know, when we're recording, or you know, those guys, I'm always like, I'll send them a riff and I'll be like, hey guys, what do you think about this? And if they don't like it, I'm like, okay, scrapped. If they're like, it's cool, I'm like, okay, start working more on that one. So and then yeah, just high school and growing up here, same type of thing, right? Like I was saying earlier, there was always those bands. There was always back in those days, it was just rent a hall, book a show, get 3 or 4 bands, and just play on a Friday night. So I remember being in like grade 6 and 7 and going to these punk rock shows and being like, okay, we can do this.
Yeah.
Like, I seen that guy at Quick Stop the other day. So that's not like a rock star. That's just a dude. So we really quickly started playing in bands and recording on 4 tracks, and just, you know, those were the early days before like MySpace and Napster and all that stuff, and it was burning CDs. When I remember some of the first CDs I've ever burnt were my own music. So, and it was just handing them out at lunch hour and giving them to all our friends, and finding people's houses and basement parties to play at. And then that quickly, as we got older and we got a little bit more tech savvy, that quickly turned into, okay, well, 4 tracks turned into DAWs, and started using different equipment, and you know, the halls turned into bars and festivals, and then the shows turned bigger from Fort McMurray. There's Edmonton, Calgary, and Red Deer, and very quickly it just realized like, oh, like this isn't just a thing I do in my basement anymore. This is something that I can share with a lot of people. So moved away, went to Calgary for a few years, and then moved back. I tried to get bands and stuff on the go in Calgary, but as you can imagine, some of those scenes are a little bit harder to get into.
Well, it's kind of like they all did the same thing you did in Calgary,
and they had their cliques and their groups. And I had a couple bands, and we played a few shows, but it was never quite the same, right? It was never really the boys, right? So when I moved back home, it's super funny, and I hope he sees this, but I had the intention of starting a band with Stephen Payne before I even moved back. And I was saying to myself, okay, I'm going to find Steve Payne, and we're going to start a band. I got home, he was already in a band, and he was playing guitar. And I'm like, you're an amazing drummer. What are you doing playing guitar? Very quickly, he asked me to join his band, and then, you know, that sort of spawned all this other stuff. Started playing with Joe a lot. We were doing sort of the tavern thing. That what's happening now at the tavern has sort of come and gone and grown and went over the years. But it was really thriving at the time when Joe was there, and it still is. But Joe would just always pull us out and be like, "Oh, come on out! I'm playing Friday night. Come watch us play." And I'd be like, "Okay." And he'd be like, "You want to play a song?" I'm like, "Okay, yeah, no problem. I'll play a song." And then I get down there and they'll be like, on a poster, it'll be like Joey D and Adam Macleod, and I'm like, "What do you?" He's like, "Yeah, you can just go up and you can do like 45 minutes, eh?" And I'm like, "Dude, like I got nothing prepared. You said one song." Right? And it pushed us. And I didn't really do that a lot. I didn't do a lot of the stuff I'm sort of known for today. Right? So, and then that really quickly, soon, like getting my bearings with that, and, you know, brushing off some of the dust from not playing, and also the rawness of playing by yourself, really quickly turned into, okay, this guy can do other things. And as honestly, the tavern, I've joined and started so many bands in that room. Everybody is like, thinks about me in the Tav, and they're like, yeah, that's where Adam joined the band. And even my most recent band, Volt, that's where I joined Volt, which is funny. So, but yeah.
Do you think there's ever a way that we can get like tavern and just Fort McMurray music back to a place where it was like that?
That's a tough question because I don't really think it's gone away. I just think it's a different version. I think it's just a modern version. So, no, we can never get back to that because that was that thing when it was then. But what we got now may be different, but it's still special. There's a lot of great musicians in this town, and you know this. There's a lot. That's a great place to sort of strip your inhibitions and do your thing without the worry or the fear of rejection or, you know, stage fright and all that stuff. I always tell people, come to the TAV. It's the spot to practice your craft, bang it out at those open mics, get comfortable, then start booking. And then not only that, you're probably going to find like-minded people who are doing the exact same type of thing or in the exact same type of situation. And then all of a sudden you see bands start popping up and people start joining projects, and those projects start playing shows, and those shows getting bigger and bigger, right? So back to your question, no, I don't think it'll ever be the same like it used to be, because what it used to be was then, but what we have now is different, but still very special in its own way.
Yeah, absolutely. I read a thing that actually it was like a skit from this guy Corey Wong. He does a podcast. It was like a skit of like he was a judge and he was like judging like indie band, and the judgment was you have 20 hours to go to open mics and find your sound. And I really think the Tavern is exactly that. It's the place where there's no judgment. You can go find your sound and work out something to be, you know, to a place where, you know, you can be judged. Yeah.
Well, I always tell people, like, the open mic is for you to get warmed up, get familiar with the stage, but then once you got that and you feel comfortable with it, book a night. Go book. And then you see, like, I mean, there's guys in town that have been doing it for so long and who are amazing at it. You look at guys like, you know, Max.
Man, I just fell in love with Saskatoon. I'll be going back there one of these days for a little trip.
I've never been. I assume you could see the whole province in one go? Because it's so flat?
No.
That was that. Okay, cut.
And you know, and then you look at the other side of the spectrum, or guys like Adam Bugden, who's been doing it for a few years, but sort of had that, was like, oh, I don't know if I can be booking, you know, I don't mind playing with my buddies, but now it's a few years later, he's got the confidence, he's got the sound, and he books himself quite often.
He played the CHMA charity thing. That's a pretty big gig.
Yeah, the CMHA event for me holds a special place in my heart. My sister-in-law is actually, she works for the CMHA. It's a resource that I think it's historically used to get overlooked. I think, you know, nowadays, like more currently, there's a lot more focus on it locally, because you've got great folks out there like obviously Mike Jones and Dan Talk, who are sort of pillars of the community, drawing focus towards it. Because I've had conversations with people where, like I said, the CMHA is sort of in my family, and I'm like, you know, you should go talk to somebody at the CMHA. And they're like, oh, what's that? What is the CMHA? And I'm like, you should just go talk to them, because they'll explain to you what it is, and they may not even be able to help you, but they'll guide you. And they're just such an underlooked resource in a community like Fort McMurray. I don't know. Have you read the book Ducks?
No, I haven't.
I would encourage anybody right now to go to the library. The copy that the library has is currently at my house, so I'll take it back. But it's just a book about growing. It's a book about a lady who came up to Fort McMurray and worked at the camps. And I'll tell you, mental health plays a huge part into that culture. And our community is very, very unique in our job scope and our day-to-day lives. Brass tacks, mental health is definitely number one, and it's something that we should all, you know, we'll everybody, you know, tries to eat right and be healthy, but mental health is something that gets overlooked. The CMHA is such an amazing group and a resource that our community, that every community should look into and definitely utilize. So, yeah, they do a lot of great events. Obviously, like I said, the CMHA event in February. They've got the First Responders Golf Tournament. Like, they do so many cool things. And then not only that, but then you look at someone like Brian down at the Music Room, who is a very philanthropist type of guy who gives so much to our community, but every time he does something, he can tie it to the CMHA, which is just another little thing to be able to say, hey, like, music is important, creativity is important, and when you live in a community that's remote, like Fort McMurray, like, you need to have outlets like that to be able to have a good sort of work life creativity balance. So.
Going back to Joey's songs meaning more now than they did when he wrote them. What was I gonna say? I just had it. It was so good too.
Slurp, 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 slurp.
Right. It's so important, like, just to keep writing, even if you don't think it's gonna go anywhere or anything's gonna come of it, because, like, I'm sure he wrote that song and he had no idea what it was gonna be. No. And how many people right now are writing songs and throwing them in the bin, writing poetry, throwing them in the bin because they don't think it's gonna be anything. But you know, you can never know what.
I think about that often.
It's important, you know, like, it's...
Think about all the songs that John Lennon had up here that never even made it to paper. I mean, man, even myself, I try my best. I've got guitars around my house, and when I get an idea, pull out grab a guitar, put out my voice memo, try to caption it, but a lot of them go sort of to the wayside. And I think that a lot about, especially our circle of musicians, right, where it's like, oh, I had this riff, and then if you didn't caption it, that's gone, right? So I don't know, creativity plays a big part in my life. I mean, I do other things in music that I need to sort of scratch a lot of those itches too, right? So yeah.
Do you believe in predeterminism?
In which way? Like,
as in like your life is predetermined?
No. I mean, I think there's parts of it, right? We're all our father's sons, and we do take on traits of the past. But I also think that, especially in today's world, you've got opportunities to sort of do what you want, right?
I mean more like in like a cosmic sense of like there's stuff pulling, like there's strings being pulled behind the scenes that you can't really.
I don't know,
see.
Man. That's really deep. Maybe. I mean, I'm a. If you listen to any of the Volt lyrics, it's clear as day to find out where my views on that lie. But I'm a nature guy. I'm a Fladius. I think of our God is the sun. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But and that's a little bit more even for myself. Like, if I'm stuck, or I'm not feeling it, or I'm like, I need a little bit of inspirato. Like, I know this sounds sort of stereotypical, but a quick walk in the woods, a quick, dip out to Gregoire Lake and get some fresh water on your body. Like, that brings it back to me. Like, same thing, like I just said, we just got back from Armstrong, and I'm always inspired when I am around the community, seeing other acts. But man, just driving through BC, just driving through the mountains, listen to tunes with the band and, having fun and laughing, like, it sparked creativity in me, right? So predeterminism, yeah, there's probably some of it. I have a hard time believing, but if I seen it, I would believe it.
Sure. Okay, so I want to keep going down this path. Would it be more akin to say that, like, human consciousness is more of just like an evolutionary survival mechanism, and it's gotten out of hand? Because that's kind of how I think of it.
Yeah, I can see where you're going with that for sure. I don't try to lean on it, because then we can circle back to the CMHA with that one. Because if I would think too much into it, then it would probably put me in a different headspace. And to be honest, at times when I am in those types of modes, that's when I feel like I'm losing my creativity. And that's, for me, when I start feeling that's when things like anxiety start coming in.
And what is that?
That is like when I get stuck in those ruts, like I mentioned, where it's just like, if I'm starting to think of like existentialism and the thought of loss, that's where I'm like, I get demotivated, right? So I try my best to pick myself out of those funks very easily. And I mean, we're surrounded by such a beautiful community to do that, right? And it's the simplest thing as me being like, I'm going to go hop on my bike. I'm going to go up to Short Change because Metal Eric is playing, you know what I mean? And I'll go and I'll hang out with Metal Eric. And the conversations may be hey, what are you doing? Oh, I'm not doing too much, man. I haven't really wrote any songs. Or I'm not really feeling it. But by the end of the night, the people that pass through the doors, the communications, the connections that we make, usually I'm going home and I got a little bit of inspiration, at least enough of a spark to get things rolling. And I'll also say this, anytime I go watch any of those Potty Brothers go play, sober, and every single time I watch Chris Potty play guitar, I like stop at like 11:30 and I go home and I play guitar because those guys make me want to be better at
shout out the
guitar.
Potty Brothers. Andrew was here just last week.
Love them. Hearts of this community.
Yeah, man, it's going pretty good.
It is. We got a really good thing going. I mean, there's a lot of summer events. We got Ribfest coming up. They got the ship party on the weekend.
Catch Brandon Bryson Band playing Ribfest.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's a good one. Typically, I mean, it's a bit different for us. Like that thing is definitely not a Volt thing, which I totally understand. But you know, Radium Scouts have played it in the past. That's another project that I really hold dear. So, but yeah, we've got a few things on the go for the summer, and the same thing. This community is always really inclusive and sort of everybody can be a part of everything. So there's really not a whole lot of like cliques, even though there is in regards to like genres a bit, but that doesn't mean like the metal guys can't go out and hang out with the country guys, right? So,
and honestly, some of the metal guys are the country guys.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Oh, I very much know. You know, and that's why I'm in 4 projects, right? Because, like I said, if it doesn't scratch the itch, then I'll just create a lane for it, right? So yeah.
Do you have an end goal?
Yes. There's a line from a song by my favorite band called Death by Stereo, and the line is, I think you're scared I'll live forever, and in so many ways I will. And what I take away from that line is Ephraim, the singer, what he's saying is, even well after I'm gone, and this reflects to our conversation about Joe, even well after I'm gone, I've done enough stuff here that will remain to keep me here with the people I love and the community I love for a long time. So the end goal is to create, is to just do photography and do digital art and record music and make videos, and not only for that, but also for my kids, right? So I want my kids to be able to look back and be like, oh, my dad made records, my dad painted pictures, and they not only do they have them, but they can access them whenever they want to show other people, right? So the end goal is to create. I know that sort of sounds cheesy for make music make sense and create a conversation about creativity, but yeah, that's really the end goal. I've done the tours. I love playing shows, but I love recording music more.
Where do you think that like need to not die comes from?
It's not necessarily need to not die, because I understand that there's an end to all this. I think what it comes from is just my anxiety being like, you haven't done enough to leave some sort of an impact. And it's weird though to think about, especially where we talk about our friends and the bands that we've been in, and like Fresh Cut, for example. Like, we didn't do much. Like Joey in that band, Joe only had like 12 or 13 songs, but what he did leave was very eclectic and very unique. So maybe I'm still trying to find that thing. I mean, I'm pretty proud of a lot of the things that I've done with a lot of my projects, but I'm still looking for that one where I'm like, yeah, that's the song, that's the best song I ever wrote, and the one that I want to be like, hey, to my son and my daughter, be like, this is the one I want you to remember. This is the one that's about you guys, or it is, what have you, right? So most of the songs I'm known for aren't actually my songs. FYI, my name is Hector. I did not write that song, but
you know, JJ Cale, he said his biggest wish was for everyone to know his songs, but not to be written by him. So like, you know, like Call Me the Breeze, or like, you know, all those tunes, all JJ Cale tunes. But yeah, he just wanted to be in the background writing dope ass songs.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of the goal, right? I think it's fun to play my friends' songs, and I think I want to share them. Some of my friends who are amazing songwriters just don't play as much as you or I, and it's sort of the way I look at it is that this needs to be heard, regardless if it's me singing it or anybody else singing it. People need to hear these songs, so that's part of the reason why I play them, right? So yeah, it's fun. I love music, man. Music. If I didn't have music in my life, if I was deaf, I would be a very grim person.
It's one of those weird things. I feel like humans are such a sight-based creature that, like, when you start getting into music, it's easy to either just kind of disregard it completely because you can't get yourself in that state of mind to, like, absorb it, or it's overappreciated to the point where, like, it saves people's lives.
100%.
And that, like, that big disparity, it seems that simultaneously it is the most appreciated thing on earth, but yet is the most undervalued thing ever 100%. Now.
Oh man, I couldn't agree with you more. That's why, especially in our community, that's why I love a lot of what the pillars are doing. Like, you look at a guy like Dan Talk, who teaches guitar lessons not for financial gain. Like, he's part of the Boys and Girls Club, but he just wants to see the next generation. Same thing, like going to the Metal Fest. Like, you'd be surprised on how many families were there, right? And they're, passing on the torch of the love of metal, but not only just for the music, but just the community too. And I will flip this back to you as a question. Have you ever met somebody that doesn't listen to music?
Yeah.
And what type of person was that?
They're competent. They're just plain. They're just kind of like someone who's just going through life.
Yeah. I find it strange. I only listen to what's on the radio. Well, what do you like? Well, I just listen. I just like, and it's like, I sort of reflect on that to be like, okay, well, what is your experience? Like, has there been a time in your life where you went to a live show, someone drugged you, took you out, made you come to this thing, and you were like, man, that was amazing. Like, that band, like, blew me away.
Actually, I have a different answer for that. I used to be that person.
Wow.
Until I was 13, 14, I truly didn't care about music. It was just something that was around.
It's crazy. And crazy to think of you as a player and a performer.
Yeah, absolutely. I started playing guitar because I was kind of the same, like a different flavor of why you started. It was like, I seen myself, like, I love video games. What am I going to do with my life? Am I going to just sit here and play video games all the time, or am I going to put myself to a skill, And like, music's always been around me in my life. Like, I don't know if Jay Chin is my nephew,
yeah.
So he's always been playing, always been an inspiration for me. But I started playing music, and I wasn't really, like, infatuated with that whole thing. And through learning music, that's what made me fall in love with it, by hearing the mentors through the YouTube videos, and hearing everyone say, like, this is something deeper. This is more than just playing a guitar, more than just, doing a thing. And it took, like, I had to force myself to listen to Dark Side of the Moon for the first time. And the first 3 or 4 times, I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. But then that 5th time, something shifted in my brain. I matured to a point. It just clicked. And then from that moment, it just started clicking more and more and more. And
do you think that's what it takes, though? Do you think it's...
Yeah, I think that's why, like, musical education is so important. Because if I didn't have a little bit of a baseline understanding of, like, what music and harmony is, then I wouldn't be able to appreciate this kind of thing, or even just have, like, the mind to, like, understand, like, okay, like, in the 50s they had, music, in the 60s they had, music plus, and then, it evolved. It evolved into this, like, crazy studio thing where it's this weird sounds, and it's like, that fascinated me so much more. And
sort of the science behind it a little bit.
Yeah, the science, and, like, the science made me believe in magic, because, like, you can talk about the science all day long with, like, the Grateful Dead's Wall of Sound, but at the end of the day, it was Jerry there tapping into whatever he was tapping into, jamming those tunes. And it wasn't science. Him playing guitar wasn't science. It was just all of the science absorbed into him and then forgotten and then projected back out.
I have a bit of a different experience with it.
Okay.
But it's sort of similar. Like, for me, it was music. Same like you mentioned. Music's always been a big part of my life. Everybody in my family plays. My mom sings. All my uncles play guitar. My grandpa played fiddle. We're an East Coast family, right? So kitchen parties
It's
on
in
Friday.
the blood.
Yeah, kitchen parties Friday, Saturday night, where cousins and uncles come over, was like a weekly thing. And I always remember like seeing my uncle play by himself, and then like seeing my grandpa play by himself. But then when you put them together, that was what it got it for me. Was like, it was like, yeah, like, oh yeah, my grandpa plays fiddle and my uncle plays guitar. But then when I watched them together and they'd be harmonizing and they would be doing leads and you'd have like the little sections, and I would just sit around. And I'm still like this today, where like when I listen to something, like you mentioned Dark Side of the Moon, you listen to it 5 times. I will listen to a record 100 times, and one time I'll just be listening to the vocals. Next time, just listening to the rhythms. Sometimes I'm listening to it just for like, oh, how does that snare sound? And I can hear the room sound just in that snare. So the science behind it really intrigues me. But then when you take that off, obviously the platform, the whatever, streaming or CD or record, whatever you're listening to, and then you apply it to the live situation, like nothing is better than live music to cure the blues. I'll tell you, if I can have the worst day of my life, and if I can go see a band and they're doing 3-part harmonies, I don't care what they're playing. I don't care if they're playing country, metal, rock, soul. I see 3-part harmonies, I'm like, yes, this is beautiful. So
I think that like that's why music and religion and like more like ethereal stuff has always been a thing. Like it does something to you. Like
100%.
I don't know. Like I'm a big vibrations guy, and like if all these different people have the same kind of vibration going, it just amplifies it and makes it even bigger. Like
you can feel it.
Yeah.
There's a song by Alexis on Fire called Get Fighted, and there's a line in the song right before the big bridge right at the end, and it's my greatest gift to you is a dance floor free of insecurity. And every single time I hear that transition out of that riff into that bridge, I'm not lying, the hair on my arm raises up. That record's been out now 20 years, and every single time I listen to it, I get the same reaction. So like, yes, music makes sense. It can literally put you in a better state of mind, and there's so many different levels of it, whether it's performing, listening, going and seeing it live, writing. Like there's so many different things about it. That's why I asked you the question, have you ever met somebody who hasn't done it? Because there's somewhere in this vast spectrum of music for everyone, whether it's a casual listener or Rick Rubin as a producer, right? Like it's meant. I think it's meant for everybody. And if aliens do exist, hopefully that's what they take away when they come back. They come check us out. They're like, man, those guys make some pretty good tunes.
Do you believe in aliens?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you believe in ghosts?
Oh, that's strange. I'd like to think so. I'd like to think it's funny. So like a bunch of the crew on the Volt team are witches. So we got some witch wives in our circle. And we were actually having this conversation this weekend. I believe in energy.
Okay.
And I think that we do, as much as I'm trying to talk about leaving physical things, I do believe we leave energy for sure. Absolutely. I can feel my ancestors. I can feel my grandpa, especially in me being a father to my kid. I can hear him. I can hear him patting me on the back and telling me I'm doing a good job. So I wouldn't say that that's a ghost, but I definitely know that that's the energy of my grandfather for sure.
Dope. Dope.
So what's next? What are you guys up to? What's going on in your world?
Right now, I have about 35 hours of editing ahead of me, if I'm being completely honest.
Well, I don't know if anybody else has said it on the podcast, but I really do appreciate what you're doing. I think you're really helping the community. I think you're really driving. You asked about getting it back to what it used to be. I don't think it's going to be like that, but it's sort of because of people like you are bringing it to a different place. And I love watching you play. I'm very thankful for all of the media and content and the assistance that you do for our scene. I know you love playing, but if it wasn't for folks like you who have the drive to sort of take on other things than just being a musician, we probably wouldn't be moving in the direction that we are. So I really appreciate it, and I'd say that the rest of the bands that I'm in do as well.
Well, thanks, man. I've kind of naturally always assumed that role. Like, I'm a big, like, if you want to do something, you gotta do it yourself.
I agree.
And like in all the bands that I've been in, I've kind of noticed that, like, either it's one or two people that drive the machine.
That's a question I have for you, actually.
Okay.
So I have this with a lot of my bands. There's usually that. It's usually, okay, like Volt, I'm not gonna lie, it's Shay's baby. Shay, and it's Shay and James.
I don't think there should be any insecurity in that either.
I have no problem. Like, I will always say that, you know, like, yeah, I'm just the singer of that band, because I have my band. I have the Big Dirty, where it's like I'm the Shay. But then there's something about that where, okay, you know, you got one guy sort of bringing the main ideas, main riffs, sort of, maybe he's the producer or what have you. But then there's the other aspect of it. And I don't want to call it a jam band, but a band that's really eclectic, where it's everything happens in the room, right? Nobody's really you might be bringing riffs or ideas, but the work all happens together. What do you prefer?
Ooh. In an original band sense, I think right now I'm really loving being a parts guy, to where, like, I walk in and they have bones for me, and then I can go in and create my own bass harmony around it.
I like that too.
But I love being the guy to, like, walk in on, like, a blues band, and then just hop in on a song and be like, all right, guys, 1 4 5, let's see where it goes. Like, I think my dream would be to have almost like a Led Zeppelin situation, where, like, the first album was written, and then the band goes and plays the first record, and then in touring that record, they find grooves and jams that work, and then the second record is that, and then it kind of evolves into, like, more of a family thing.
I'm of two minds of it. I like both of it, because I have the best of both worlds. I have the bands that are sort of driven by one person, who sort of, it's their vision, and we get to sort of play our part in it.
It makes it a lot easier.
It does. So in that regard, things get done quicker, because you sort of know your role, know your piece. The other side of it, though, is sometimes you don't find that unwritten magic that just sort of comes out. Or when you're in the room and you're sort of all working together, I find myself at times when I'm like that, I got to put my fingers in my ears, and I got to shut everybody out for a second, because I'm trying to catch up to myself, because I have 3 or 4 ideas and I need to get them out. So I really do enjoy. Most of my bands growing up were that. There was no driving force. It was a group of guys in a room. I got a riff, I got a beat, I got a line, a lyric, and then we would just go from there. I very much enjoy that, but that being said, that's a bit of a slower process.
Yeah, and it's, if all of you aren't on the same page on what you like, on what the project should be, then it can get real messy real quick.
That's why I think your answer with the Led Zeppelin, that you got to sort of grow to that. No, that's a good piece of mind. I'm gonna keep that in mind when at the next band practice. Yeah,
I mean, it's only, I think it's only natural, because, like, you have to start somewhere, and the seed is the dude having the songs, having the thing, and also, like, I have to admit, it must be really hard being the dude and having their songs and letting them go, and really, like, living the idea that once you write the songs, they're not your songs anymore.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That's actually what we have with Radium Scouts. So Radium Scouts, Lucas is the main guy, and I don't want to speak down to his playing capabilities, but he's a CGE guy. Like, he's got 3 chords, but man, can that guy write a song. Can't write a bridge. That's gotta learn how to write a bridge, Lucas.
Honestly, no one can write a bridge these days. It's a lost art.
But the beauty part about it is when he brings these songs in and they don't have a bridge and they're very, very bones, you know, there's 4 other guys in the band who, hey, Lucas, let's transpose that up, you know, 1 step, because, you know, that's probably shouldn't be a song in a minor key. We've got to put it in a major key. Hey, Lucas, you know, maybe we try to put a bridge in here, or that part you think is a chorus is actually a bridge, right? So when you have that sort of camaraderie, and he's got the bones, you get the other four sort of. It's like building a car, right? Like, you can't just be a mechanic. You need to have a auto body, and you need to have aerodynamics, and someone's got to work on the tire. You got more people sort of bringing it in and sort of putting all that stuff together. So I like the both. I can work in both.
Yeah.
And yes, that one guy driving force way of doing it gets done quicker. But I sometimes fear of losing that one little bit of magic of just that cool little riff that you played one time turned into this awesome 10-minute long epic, right? So I like both. I couldn't choose one over the other.
There's I got two thoughts on that, and they're both from the same video I watched. There's a drummer, Jim Kelter. He played with the Beatles. He played with like a lot of guys, and he was talking about how back in those days you didn't talk about the feel. Like you didn't naturally in some, like when you're playing with a drummer and a bass player, either the drummer's going to play a little bit forward and the bass player's going to lay back a little bit, or the drummer's going to lay back and the bass player's going to move a little bit forward. And his way of thinking about it is you don't talk about that juju stuff, because the last thing you should be doing is getting in your own way, thinking about that kind of stuff. And when you were with really good musicians, like he was like in that session 70s era, so you would do 4 or 5 takes of a song, and within 3 hours you kind of had this unspoken thing, and it kind of just worked out. And there's so many bands where that does happen. But to my point, the people who were interviewing him, Ryan Lerman and Jack Chiante from Scary Pockets, they didn't have that at all. They were there minute by minute by minute, bar by bar, being like, I'm playing here, you can't play there. And it's really interesting seeing both sides of, like, yeah, that magic does just happen, but if you sit there and work on it enough, you can almost mold yourself and mold the band into that place where you do have that magic there. And
they both work, right? For myself, I sometimes reflect on the what if, right? If I didn't just tell the bass player, like, here's a bass line and you gotta stay in the pocket and follow the rhythm, but if I just sort of said, hey, like, do what you want, it's in the key of C, right? You're the rhythm section, do what you need to do. You'd lose that push, pull, that the swing, and if it's not there, because nobody plays the instrument exactly the same, right? And that's the uniqueness of having the dynamics of other people. That's what I thrive on, right? Like, a lot of my projects, as much as certain ones have had like different members, like, you can tell when somebody else is there, when it's like we jam. Our bass player for Volt lives in Edmonton, and man, I love him, and I'm so happy that he's doing something, and he's his family and his job is there. But man, I miss when he's not there. Okay, but then when he's there, like when we just played at Armstrong, I love looking over at Jimmy holding down the rhythm, and he had the hair waving. So it was just, yeah, I'm of both minds of it, but I mean, to come back to what I think this podcast is about is it sort of makes sense, and it's about creativity, right? So, yeah, just all stuff to think about when you're playing music.
Yeah. Do you notice yourself tending to push more or pull more?
Vocally, I try my best not to push. I try to get a little bit more inside my head and inside myself. So I would say, especially with metal, I would try to pull. I intentionally try to pull. Sometimes though, when I'm doing the acoustic stuff by myself, with the rawness, it's easier to push.
Absolutely.
And it just depends, right? I think that in those situations, that's when you push, sometimes that draws attention, and if you push and pull at the right times, that really adds dynamics to the songs. As a guitar player, no, I'm not a fancy guitar player by any means, so I try not to push at all, because when I push my guitar playing skills, I tend to flub up. So I try to just, I would say I pull a little bit more, but that's also why I surround myself with really, really other good musicians like Bob Parsons and Shay and James and stuff, right? So.
I'm a natural like pusher. I want the beat to be a good little bit ahead. Yeah, and it's really nice finding drummers who can ride with me if I want to push a little bit, but then they're also like smart enough to be like, hey buddy, the song's still here. We can't end the song 20 BPMs faster. It's not that kind of gig. And it's
hard for that.
I'm finding myself like almost getting insecure at moments of being like this bullish player.
So do you have any theory?
I want. It's just how I want it.
Do you know mezzo forte, right? Like push and pull.
Yeah, I think so in different terms.
They all call it different things, but like if you would look at it from that perspective of like, okay, especially from a rhythm section side, and like you said, if you can get that right drummer, where there's that like you don't need to tell them to speed up or push. It's just that that little look or that little that little indication of, okay, we got to draw it back or get in the pocket or now is the time to push, right? Like those are the things that really make, especially live performances, so unique, right?
Yeah.
I've actually heard that about yourself from like the occasional like the person that doesn't come out all the time, like, oh man, that rhythm section tonight, right? Like obviously I try to support as much as I can, but I see it because I'm around, but it's just like, oh yeah, that's Josh and Andrew, so yeah, I'm not trying to, because it's your podcast, but I'm really, really excited for your and Brandon's project. I think that's one of the newer ones. I wouldn't say newer because he's been around a while, but one of the ones that is very, very unique to our music scene right now.
I'm really excited about it too. I mean, it's I do a lot of stuff, but it's a little, this may be a watered down statement, but I don't do anything I don't want. I'm not fully invested in. Nope. If I'm not into it, I'm not gonna.
I'm the same boat, man. And I think that is a tell by showing the people that I choose to be in projects with, right? Like they're either people I've known forever, and I've been in projects with for a long time, or very, very like-minded. Where, I mean, it's funny. The Radium Scouts is a band that never plays shows, that never goes out. We go out bike riding and fishing more than we play music. But when we do play music, it's real fun. So, and that just shows it, right? Like we enjoy each other's company, and occasionally write a funny song.
I mean, that shows it's. I think like the big allure of the Beatles in like the early days was every bit of footage you've seen of them, they were just people, they were boys together, and you felt like you were part of that club.
Yeah.
And I think, audiences can tell when a band is a piece together thing versus it's people who, live and breathe together.
You know that statement truer more than most, because, I find that. Now, like, it's not a bad thing, right? Like, I mean, I very much understand our scene in Fort McMurray, but there's times where you see bands in town where you're like, yeah, those people really enjoy playing together, right? Like there's a lot of really good musicians who just really get in the pocket, right? One that comes to mind right off the bat, Supermodel Taxidermy.
I'm not sure, like, are you looking for consistency?
If you want.
Like the texture?
Yeah, let's get into it.
It's normally fluffy, easy to pass.
Okay. Fluffy.
Yeah, like
Okay.
aerated,
I never heard of that term before.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd describe poo as fluffy, but
Is there a specific color to these?
Well, you got to eat
You
have to eat a lot of lard to get there.
That's the secret. Okay.
Yeah.
Taxidermy.
That was the one I was thinking of as well.
When you
Absolutely.
when you look at Riley,
Yes.
and Sean and those boys, like, and Mike, like, they just, even though it's a 3-piece, it's a wall of sound, but the three of them are giving it their hardest on all their parts, but then the parts where they're not giving it, they're dialed back and they're enjoying it, right? So that's another project, that's another band in town where I really have high hopes for. I love what those guys are doing, and the push and Sean's tenacity, and just like they're stepping up their game show after show, song after song. So yeah, like I can enjoy that when I see watching a band, and nothing worse than watching a band doesn't look like they're having fun.
Yeah.
So yeah.
There's almost, I don't know, I wasn't a part of the 90s, but I feel like there was a little subsect of the 90s that was kind of that, of we're a little too cool to be having fun.
Yeah, I mean, I never really ever noticed that in like our scene, or like even like the Western Canadian scene. You get that when you start getting into these bigger spots like the Calgarys, the Vancouvers of the world. It's funny, I've known some, and I've met some people over the years who've had the opportunity to play with bigger acts, and one that comes to mind right off the bat is, just because they were here, was Our Lady Peace. One of my old chefs I used to work with went to high school with those guys, and I just asked them straight up, I'm like, they seemed like a band that were just driven, They were like, go, 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 work, work, work. And he was like, nah, man, they were a bunch of fun-loving guys. And you can sort of tell it now. And I look back on some of their earlier stuff, even and relate it to their newer stuff and their performance that they just had here. And it's like, yeah, you can tell that those guys love doing what they're doing, right? Yeah, there's a commercial aspect of it. There's money. It's a business. I get that. But at the same time, they always say, love what you do, and you never work a day in your life.
I think that's a completely untrue statement, but that's besides the point. Shout out to Our Lady Peace in 2016 when they opened up for Metallica. They were completely honest about what they were doing.
100%.
They were like, hey guys, we know you're not here for us. Here's 45 minutes of our hits. We just released an album. We're not going to play a single song off that album. Here's the songs you know.
Yeah.
So like, it's having fun with it and knowing what you're there for, knowing, that's.
Especially in that type of situation, right? I can only imagine there's probably a million bands that have been in that situation, especially with Metallica. Like, I know it's a bit different nowadays because Metallica tend to tour with they usually have because they're doing the back-to-back nights, they usually have an old band like an Anthrax or somebody that sort of sits in the vein, but then they'll have a newer band who aren't as big but are still sit in the same vein, which is great because that's them passing on the torch. I find it strange that you'd see stuff like that. I would never anticipate that Our Lady Peace opened up for Metallica. But sure,
it was they were just for that western side of the tour. It was
good on them.
Yeah. Hopefully we can have them on the podcast one day. That'd be a golden ticket.
Yeah. For sure. I'm surprised you're not banging on doors, getting everybody on this podcast. Anybody that passes through here.
Honestly, dude, it's scary. I don't want to overstep my my bounds. I
respect that.
Who am I to ask?
Yeah, well, it's like anything else, right? You put it out there and watch it grow, and maybe that's where it ends up going, right?
Maybe that's the next step, is just to fully Nardwar it and start sneaking into things.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a champion.
So all right, I have one last point on the band thing of how do you find the momentum and how do you get everything all together? You have to trust everyone 60% more than you're trusting them, and just really give yourself to the process and give yourself to being in a band and taking, take the ego out of it and really just love the process.
I'm very lucky that I am surrounded by, and in all of our projects, a great group of folks who are trustworthy and open to ideas. So it's hard at times. Sometimes, especially with metal, you want to try to find something new, and you don't want to just keep hashing out the same old. So that stuff takes me a bit longer at times. So I have to lean on the boys, especially with, like I said, that one's sort of Shay's driving force. At times I will go to Shay and say, what are you thinking about this? When you wrote this song, how did you think the vocals are going to go? Right? And that'll give me inspiration. A band like the Radium Scouts, where I'm sort of the rhythm guy, I lean on where I think Lucas is going to add to it and sort of accompany it and sort of, add some spice to the dish. And then the other one for myself, for my band, for the Big Dirty, it's just finding inspiration in the songs. To be honest, we're working right now to get ready to start writing for our next record, and we just started a playlist, and it was a shared playlist with all of us, and we're just throw songs on this playlist. Doesn't matter the band, the genre, whatever. Throw songs on this that inspire you. Not that, hey, we should write a song that sounds like this, but just that these things sound cool and are they appeal to your ear. So and then the other thing is just, like I said, I read. There's a lot of things I have to pull from. And my kids nowadays. My kids are just so funny. So I've started to write songs that I keep them in mind. Right before, when I was younger, I never really thought to write to an audience. I still really don't, in a sense, but I do keep my kids and my family in mind. Where I'm okay, if I am writing to somebody who I want to listen to this, it's definitely my family. So that's changed my approach the last few years. But yeah, like I said, just lucky to be a part of it and be surrounded by a great group of people in all of my projects, you know. So yeah.
Awesome, dude. Well, I could sit here and talk to you all day about this stuff.
And we will down at the pub.
But Adam, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Josh. I appreciate it. Thank you for everything you're doing with the scene, man. Keep it up. Best of luck. Best wishes. Yeah, I love it. I'm super proud of you. Keep it going, man.
Where can we catch you?
Party in the Park. So Volt's coming up with
this. Sorry, it's social medias. This is coming out next May.
Oh, okay. So yeah, Volt on Instagram. Volt Came to Thrash. Adam_GingerBeef is my Instagram. Most of my stuff is there, so it'll direct you to it. But all the streaming platforms: Radium Scouts, Volt, The Big Dirty, and then myself, Adam Macleod, all over all streaming platforms. So yeah.
Awesome, dude.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Corey, Beats in a Box manager.
And I'm Mel.
And this is Music Makes Sense. Hi, I'm Justin McNeil from Beats in a Box, and this is Music Makes Sense.
Hi, I'm Hannah at Balloon Animal Dog on TikTok, and this is Music Makes Sense.
Hey, it's Anna Potty at It's Mrs. Potty on Instagram, and this is Music Makes Sense.
I'm Jesse Death from the Fomites, and this is Music Makes Sense. We're Lionhearted, and this is Music Makes Sense.
Hey, this is Darren with Rock the Rails, and this is Music Makes Sense.
Hey, this is James from Crosswood, and this is Music Makes Sense.
It's your boy Nickel Butter, the hottest rapper in Fort McMurray, and this is Music Makes Sense.
This is Eric from Beats on the Box. This is Music Makes Sense.
I'm Mike from Supermodel Taxidermy, and this is Music Makes Sense.
All right, I'm Chris.
And I'm Lucas.
And we're from Slenderbrain and Deathwish.
This is Music Makes Sense.
Hey, this is Andrew Potty. This is Vera. This is Music Makes Sense.